with Professor Kerry Kirwan from WMG, the University of Warwick. Some of our best friends seem to be with the Warwick Manufacturing Group, which is lovely. Hello to you, Kerry.
Morning, Vic. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much indeed. Now, Pint of Science, it used to be kind of a sort of pub-based thing. How is it working now? Are you in the pub or are you in Zooms?
No, we're in our own homes, sort of broadcasting out over a platform. Which is a bit of a shame, but it does allow us to reach new people, and we've got a global audience now.
Well, that's a nice thing. You sounded very pleased about that. I can imagine that you are. This is lovely, though, because it gives people laymen like me, who have an interest in the world of science, a chance to sort of get to grips with big topics in a way that we understand.
Yeah, no, it's a great way of putting it could be a great way of putting together what could be quite boring science and engineering and technology into a nice, easy to understand package that everyone can engage with. And to be honest with you, it's more fun than perhaps our more traditional academic things that we might do at a university.
That's a lovely thing. 'Cause some people do switch off. If I try and talk about science sometimes, you can see members of my team, all people I'm married to, and probably one day my son, their eyes rolling backwards as I over-explain things. You will do it in a lovely and expert way. Now, I'm very excited about this one. This is a talk that you're doing, isn't it? All about sustainability, isn't it, in motor racing?
It is, and the whole point of it was, we started this a long time ago. It's been a bit of a journey. The whole point of it was to actually take that science and engineering, which, as I say, can be a bit dry, and put it into something that people really could relate to. So that's where the whole idea of motorsport and green came from. If you think about it, they're not natural sort of matching mates, but actually works really, really well.
They really do. It's something that's a concern. If, like me, I'm a big fan of motor racing, but also a big fan of the planet and really concerned about green issues. And it's a tough circle to square, isn't it?
It is, but you've got to get into perspective. I mean, motorsport is sort of glamorous, and there's sort of the F1 side of it, but actually it's something lots and lots of people enjoy all the way across the country, all the way across the world, actually. But actually, it's no different to, turning on the football lights at Old Trafford for 50,000 people for an hour and a half sort of thing. So you've got to get these things in perspective. What we tried to do was show some opportunities for exciting different materials and how they might fit, not just into motorsport, but into other things as well.
Right. So one of the things that's under the radar for this is rubbish, using rubbish to power cars. Could this really work?
Well, what we did with the original car, or one of the original cars, was we run it on biodiesel, which we made from waste chocolate. Now, that was a surprise to us. We didn't know there was such a thing as waste chocolate, but apparently there is. And so with a bit of chemistry and a bit of sort of scientific know-how, we were actually able to take that solid sort of chocolate fat and turn it into biodiesel. So we could use that instead of the sort of the petrochemical stuff that comes out of the ground.
So that's extraordinary. I remember the chocolate racing car, and also being stunned that you can use chocolate. That there was waste chocolate. And so, in theory, then, could pretty much anything that started life in the ground become fuel?
So it's not about anything. What you need is something that's kind of fatty. You've got fats and oils in it, and therefore you can take it from crude oil, but obviously we know that's becoming a bit more of a problem now. But actually, you can, in theory, turn anything fatty and oily into a fuel source. And people doing that. I mean, the obvious one is people converting their cars to run on chip fat or waste chip fat. We've been, and I'll be talking about it tonight. Some of the things we've been doing is a bit more interesting. Taking fatbergs, for example, and doing interesting things with the materials that you find in them, and turning them into sort of valuable products.
Now, that's obvious. That's made me wrinkle my little nose in horror. Because whenever you see fatbergs on the telly, they look like the most disgusting thing in the whole wide world. Big wadges of fat. It never occurred to me that fat has to go somewhere. So what do they do with the fat from a fatberg?
Well, I'm not sure what they do with the fat from a fatberg at the minute. What we do is we were looking at ways of stopping people from putting fat down the drains. That's the biggest cause of it. So we did an experiment on campus where we went around collecting all our used cooking oils and waste fats from outlets, and then using the same kind of understanding we developed with the chocolate biodiesel, we were able to clean and manipulate the materials and turn them actually into plastics. We